I don't think Americans are anti-immigration. They're anti-chaos, right? They don't want us to do more than we can, but they recognize, at least most people do, we got the lowest birth rate we've had in well over 100 years. We're not at replacement level, which means we got to have somebody come here if we want to keep growing the economy. Unless one of you is one of these artificial intelligence geniuses and figured out how we can all grow with no work, which I'm not sure would be good for us. I think,
the reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large portion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
The
need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration.
All right, guys. So have I mentioned that Kamala Harris is desperate, so desperate that she's now rolling out ex-Democrat Party presidents to campaign on her behalf, specifically when it comes to trying to get young men on board with her agenda, an agenda that young men are rejecting in mass, okay? And this has caused a freak out in the mainstream liberal media because the writing is on the wall, okay? I'm hoping that in 2024, we have what happened in 2022, except with men, okay? In 2022, women came out and voted in droves because of Roe v. Wade being overturned. And I'm hoping that men, young men, help us take our country back by coming out and voting for Trump the same way that women voted for Democrats in 2022, but men vote for Trump and lead us to victory, right? There will be nothing sweeter than waking up the day after the election, if the election is decided that day. I'm hoping that it is. And young men came out and voted for Trump and put him back in the White House, right? It would make me so proud, right, as one of these young men to see that, okay? So with that being said, again, Kamala Harris is rolling out ex-presidents like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Now, Barack Obama did not help Kamala Harris with young black men because he actually ended up pissing off young black men by calling them sexist for not supporting black woman, right? And he's getting a whole lot of backlash for that. Democrat strategists across the board have agreed that, yeah, Obama made a big mistake. And now we got to talk about Bill Clinton. I guess his job is to appeal to young white men. And Bill Clinton made a mistake that probably is just as bad, if not worse, than Obama's mistake, because he admitted that because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's open border policies, Laken Riley is dead because the administration could not thoroughly vet the illegal immigrants. Yes, this man said this on the campaign trail while campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris. Take a look.
Case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up, so we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work, there wouldn't be a problem. And he couldn't keep people all torn up and upset.
Wow, I cannot believe that Bill Clinton actually said that on the campaign trail. I can't believe it. That's another Trump ad, right? Trump has another ad. These people are giving Trump so much material, okay? So much material. And these ads are devastating Kamala Harris, okay? I'm telling you, in these swing states, I was just looking at an ad when I was watching football, a little bit of football yesterday. Don't watch too much because the Panthers are absolutely terrible. But I saw one of those ads in which the Trump campaign highlighted Kamala Harris supporting sex change operations for illegals and prisoners. And I was like, damn, they are really, really, really hammering Kamala Harris with her own words, right? So Kamala Harris has been slipping up lately by saying things like, for example, she wouldn't be any different than Joe Biden. Okay, she would have done all the same things that Joe Biden did, which is now being used in ads. Obama is out here shaming black men, getting a ton of backlash. And now you have Bill Clinton admitting the quiet part out loud. And it's not even the quiet part, it's the obvious part. That because of the Biden administration and Kamala Harris's inability to thoroughly vet illegals, their open border policies, Laken Riley unfortunately lost her life, which is something that the mainstream liberal media refuses to admit. They refuse to admit it. It is clear as day that the policies of the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrats is what led to her death, okay? And that's just a fact, okay? Whether you look at the policies at the border, the Biden-Harris administration making it a lot easier to seek asylum, to claim asylum. All you gotta do is go to the border and say, I'm hungry and I'm escaping political persecution, right? All you gotta say is, yo tengo hambre, okay? That's all you gotta say, okay? Once you say that, they just let you right on in. They not vetting nobody. They're not vetting anybody at all. And then once they're let in, they're bused using taxpayer dollars to these liberal cities where they are giving taxpayer money in order to be able to live, to work, okay? They get free housing, free healthcare, all of these things off taxpayer dime. And also the criminals are taking advantage of that in order to operate. You have criminals smuggling drugs, weapons, people into the country via the transportation systems that are being provided to the illegals by the Democrats, okay? And then once they get caught committing a crime in these liberal cities, these sanctuary cities, they are given a slap on the wrist so that they can continue to commit more crimes. They're not even punished. They're not deported. And that's ultimately what has led to the destruction and chaos. And Bill Clinton is on camera admitting this out loud while campaigning on behalf of Kamala. You can't make this stuff up. They're destroying themselves, okay? That's how terrible this administration is. They can't even campaign without exposing themselves and their policies for how bad they are, because you got to talk about the issues. And when you talk about the issues, the record of the Biden-Harris administration has been an absolute disaster, right? So it's hard not to slip up and to accidentally screw yourself, which is what has been happening over and over and over and over and over again. It's hilarious. It really is. So that being said, that brings me to Kamala Harris doing an interview, doing multiple interviews really, with the black media now, right? Because illegal immigration is a big issue among black people, just like it is among the rest of the country. And she has finally answered Roland Martin's phone calls, begging her for an interview. And she decided to sit down with Roland Martin, in which he obviously is not going to do what he suggests other pundits do when they're speaking to Republicans like Scott Jennings.
You say what we say at home. So you're right. When you're sitting opposite of Scott Jennings, you got to jump in his ass. You got to jump in his ass. Jump in his ass. His ass. You got to push back immediately. Jump in his ass.
Yeah, he didn't do that with Kamala Harris, but he did confront her on the border crisis and black MAGA, right? Black people sounding like MAGA who are dissatisfied with the illegal immigration problem in this country. And he allows Kamala Harris to lie to his face like she's been lying to the faces of all the propagandists in the mainstream liberal media about her record when it comes to dealing with the border. Take a look.
When we talk about immigration, it has been African Americans, it's been in some quarters extremely contentious. And I've said, wait a minute, there are people who are coming from African nations, who are coming from Haiti, who are coming from Bermuda, who are coming from different countries. And you have these battles happening in Chicago and New York. What do you say to African Americans specifically about immigration and how you're going to deal with that? Because there was a reason folks were being sent to various cities to create the tension. But it's talked about. It's there. It is a real concern. So what do you say to African Americans specifically who say, shut it all down, folks can't come in, close the border, who sound in many ways like MAGA folks?
So first of all, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have had a career, including now, of prioritizing that we must have a secure border. And in fact, on the issue of immigration, let's be clear, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, together with others, had a bill to secure the border even more, and Donald Trump got wind of it, and because he thought it would hurt his political chances in this election, told them not to put it up for a vote. He killed the bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why the border agent union supported it. That bill would have stemmed the flow of fentanyl, which is affecting people of every race and background and geographic location in our country. That bill would have given more resources to prosecute transnational criminal organizations. Donald Trump told them, cancel that bill because he wants to run on a problem instead of fix a problem. I'm about fixing problems. And that includes, when I am elected president, bringing back up that border security bill, and I will sign it into law. We also must have an immigration system that is humane and orderly. We have to increase the number of asylum judges. We need to make sure that people who are fleeing harm, that we give them a chance to explain their situation in a meaningful way, because America also is a place that we have said we will receive people who are fleeing persecution. They got to make their case. And then they got to be on a path where they earn the right to be here and become citizens, which means we need to have a comprehensive immigration policy that includes requiring people to earn and work hard to earn their citizenship.
Yeah. So once again, Roland Martin allows a black Democrat woman, okay, and again, I'm using that term loosely here, okay, with Kamala Harris, because Tiffany Henyard was also a black Democrat that went on his show and lied to his face, right? Just completely lied to his face. Now, again, the problem here is that Roland Martin likes to be real tough with Republicans, right? When Republicans or conservatives come on the show, he will
jump in his ass.
But when it comes to Democrats, though, he don't want to do that for whatever reason. Although he's letting them lie to his face. Like Kamala Harris is lying to his face about how she prosecuted transnational criminal organizations as Attorney General of California. Now, I've already played this fact check before, but I'm going to play it again for all of those in the algorithm who have never seen my videos, right? But you watch Roland Martin, right? So you happen to stumble across this video. Kamala Harris is lying, okay? She won't talk about her record as border czar because her record is a disaster. The Biden administration's record on the border is a disaster. So she defaults to lying about her record as Attorney General because she knows that nobody will question her about it or actually look up the information. But she's lying about prosecuting transnational criminal organizations. She actually never did that as Attorney General. Take a look.
Fact check this new border ad. The ad does imply that Harris was on the front lines of the border crisis, when in reality, as a California Attorney General from 2011 to 2017, she mainly dealt with state-level criminal justice. For example, her Back on Track program aimed at reducing repeat offenses through education, not tackling border cartels. So this claim is stretching the truth a bit. News Nation is fact-checking this claim as misleading. That also implies that Harris went after gang members for cross-border smuggling. While she did prosecute gang members in the state of California, these cases were mostly local, not involving international smuggling. For example, back in 2015, her office took on the Nuestra family gang for drug trafficking within California, not across the border. News Nation is fact-checking this claim as false, given she didn't prosecute criminals across the border.
Yeah, so she never did that at all. She never did that at all. But she continues to lie in these interviews to the faces of these so-called journalists, the propagandists, and they never, ever, ever call BS on that claim. She doesn't talk about what she did as border czar because she can't. She didn't do anything. She didn't do a damn thing. But she also didn't do a damn thing about the border as Attorney General of California, a border state. Didn't do anything. Didn't handle it. But we do know that she has a history of statements suggesting that she's extremely soft on the border. She wants to give illegal immigrants free health care. She doesn't think that crossing the border is a crime. She wants to decriminalize it. She wants to give sex change operations to illegals. This woman is an open borders lunatic. She's an open borders extremist. And the fact that Roland Martin did not confront her on these things, although he knows that a vast majority of black people are extremely concerned about the issue, tells you everything you need to know about how these so-called pro-blackity blacks, they're not pro-black, they're pro-Democrat. You can't let her slide on that issue. That's one of the main issues. I'm telling you, for all these people that want to talk about tangibles in the so-called black agenda, right? That's what all these people are looking. What are you going to do for black people? And I just want to challenge people to stop thinking that way, because first and foremost, that's unconstitutional, okay? You cannot enact policies and legislation specifically for a group of people based off race, okay? We have to move past this way of thinking. That's not the way you should think about it. The way you should think about it is, how do your policies affect the country as a whole, first and foremost? Because when the country does well, black people do well and everybody else does well, right? And when the country does bad, black people are doing bad, right? So you got to think about the country as a whole, first and foremost. But also you got to think about, okay, how do these policies affect me as an individual, and how might they affect black people if that's what you're concerned about? But you can't do something specifically for a group of people based off race, okay? So when you look at the policies of the Biden-Harris administration when it comes to the border, their open border agenda is the single biggest threat to young black men, economically speaking. Because I've talked about this before, and I will continue to talk about it, because you got to understand what's at stake here. The more that this country becomes populated with illegal immigrants who do not speak English, they're going to create economies of scale. They're going to take over these so-called black and brown neighborhoods of mainly English-speaking black people and black men. They're going to start businesses. They're going to undercut the wages, and they're going to make it a lot harder for young black men to be gainfully employed in some of these jobs, okay? Because you're going to have to learn Spanish, and you're going to have to compete with people from another country who are willing to work for less. They're not going to complain, and in some cases, they'll probably work harder, right? And willing to do more, put in more hours. You have to compete with that. So you better learn Spanish, right? You better learn Espanol, okay? Because if you don't, and this illegal immigration problem continues the way that it is right now, black men disproportionately are going to be negatively affected by this. It is a big, 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 big deal. And I cannot overstate that. I cannot overstate how big of a deal this issue is. So when people want to talk about the so-called black agenda, stop thinking about, well, what are you going to do specifically for black? No, think about how the policies and issues, whether it comes to the economy as a whole, immigration, crime, whatever, how does it impact you as an individual, the country as a whole, and black people, if that's what you are concerned about, right? Trump and his plans for mass deportation, Trump and his plans to close the border, okay? The tax cuts that you're going to get, the economic opportunities that you're going to get, that is the so-called black agenda, right? It just so happens to benefit everybody, okay? That's the way you have to be thinking about it. But you can't fall for the okie doke from these Democrats, because they're going to come out here and start promising all types of unconstitutional things that they can't do, right? Telling you how they're going to give you money and all. They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And they're going to screw you over if they get in office. I guarantee you. And the biggest issue is illegal immigration. That is the main way they will screw you over. So I'm telling you, I'm so serious about this. If there's one reason why a young black man should vote for Trump, it is the illegal immigration issue. And do not let these Democrats fool you thinking that they're going to do something about it. No, they're not. The floodgates are going to open up if Kamala Harris is elected, because that is the agenda. Listen to Bill Clinton. They're telling you, hey, we want more people coming to this country because, hey, our birth rate's low. We need the workers, right? We need the people. We want them. So again, this is being done on purpose. It's not an accident. This is being done on purpose. And the black population is not growing. The Latinos, they're outpacing black people, okay? You guys want to make all these demands, and you want to demand a black agenda. You're not going to be able to demand anything in 4 to 8 years, right? You're going to be totally irrelevant. They won't pander to black folks no more. Black people will be completely irrelevant because they'll have their new voter base, right? Illegals, okay? They'll have the illegals and the Hispanics. They won't need black folks anymore. Won't be enough black people in this country to care. That's the honest to God truth. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.
You got to jump in his ass. Jump in his ass. His ass. You gotta push back immediately, jumping his ass.